Alright, I rushed out of the house and started running to get away from her perfume. The rubber band beside me, the one called Rena, was stretched all the way to its limits. I'm pretty sure I'd explode and go crazy if the rubber band broke. I didn't want to feel like that inside my own house. My house was supposed to be the place where I could open my heart freely. I ran away. I ran away from there. I ran farther and farther away from there because it was no longer a place I belonged. It's not that I had a destination in mind. I was just running away. I was running to escape to a place where I did belong. Didn't I decide to fight against that woman? Didn't I decide to fight against her either by myself or with my father? But then, once I saw her fake smile, a chill ran up my back. It was like I picked up a stone, found a carpet of bugs underneath it, and put it back on the ground in a hurry. I rushed out of the house as fast as I could. Did I want to fight, or did I want to run away? Was I just choosing to spend a peaceful time at my hideout, believing that tomorrow would be the same as today? I couldn't do that. I didn't know when they'd spring their trap. I couldn't afford to waste any time. I knew that deep down. I knew that, but I just wanted to run away. I couldn't stop myself from running away, and so I did run away. At times like this, the mattress in my hideout would be so soft. That I knew. Ah, poor little baby. I swear to God. The cries of the Higurashi were soothing to the ears. They sounded as soft as my mattress. They were like music. They didn't force any things upon me. They cried as if to tell me to just be who I am. It was always so quiet here that I immediately noticed the purr of an engine coming closer. People used to come here and make a lot of noise during the damn conflict. But now, nobody really comes here. This is a place forgotten. So, it was rare to see somebody come through here at all. I sat on the roof of an abandoned car and waited for the intruder to go away without looking their way. But the purr of the engine stopped. I am not stupid. If it stopped, I knew exactly who it had to be. I heard a person call me, but I ignored it once. Your father? Rina? The person came closer, making it harder for me to ignore her. And she called my name again. I turned around this time.
リナさん。レイナちゃん、結構耳遠い方？すみません。多分逆風だったんで聞こえにくかったんだと思います。
She seemed to buy my poor excuse. She smiled and said, "Yeah, it happens sometimes."
一人？お友達は？一人で遊んでますよ。その年でなかなか渋いわね。
Rina-san stretched and looked across the huge garbage dump.
しかし、よくもこれだけ盛大にスクラップばっか捨てたもんよね。知ってる？昔、平坂の2丁目にもタイヤの外れた車ばっかり積んであるところがあってね。
I wasn't interested in Rina-san's whole story, but I pretended to listen and nodded. She doesn't take this road to go back to Okinomiya. I guess she knew I'd be here and came by to see me. hold on. Maybe there's something going on here? I mean, it kind of depends on what Rina is about to say next. We shall see. Let's see, I'm curious. What did she want? It was obvious that she was just trying to make conversation. She probably took it personally when I avoided her earlier. Which must be why she was here to butter me up. It would be better for her not to have any conflicts with the daughter of the man she's seeing, no matter what the intention of seeing him is. In that sense, it was a reasonable action for her to take. Yeah, I mean, hold on a second. I don't know about this, to be quite honest. Like, okay, moment of hopefulness, maybe, here, but I'm thinking the opposite way around. If Rina and Teppei are going to, are going with a plan to extort money out of the father, I don't think that Rina has to go to this kind of extent to even go here, decide to go here to the treasure, to the dumps to talk to Rena. Why would she have to butter up to the daughter of the father? I get the feeling that they are this close to, if they are to enact their plan, they are this close to trying to steal the money from the father. In that sense, it kind of feels pointless for Rina to come here and butter up with, Rena. So, if she is here, coming out of her way, taking, from her free time to come here to talk to Rena, maybe there is something genuine going on over here. Let's see. While I listened to her old story, all I could think about was when she was going to leave. Then I had to fight against her. Then I decided to fight against her. Then I find out her plot at the coffee house in Okinomiya. Then I find out that this woman is squeezing money out of my father when I looked inside his cash box. I know who you are. Please leave my father alone. How easy it would be if those 2 sentences could solve the problem. She'd probably deny it. Even if I told her about what I heard at the coffee house, I have no evidence of her plot. If she says she did it because the vulgar man was threatening her, there will be nothing I could do. But I know this woman is a bad person. I know something horrible will happen in the near future if I waste time like this. A strange, tense feeling started coming over me. But I didn't know how to let it out. As the feeling started running high, I became unable to stand the smell of her perfume. I wanted to put a certain distance between me and her, so I climbed down the slope of the scrap heap. I kept going down and down, the slopes of the garbage dump. When I turned around, I saw her coming down as well, muttering. Was she following me? In order to run away from her, I started running down the slope all the way to the bottom, went around behind some trash piles, and arrived at the front of my hideout. My escape was meaningless. Not only was she going to catch up with me eventually, all I did was let her know the way to my hideout that nobody is supposed to know about. I wanted to make sure she never saw my precious hideout. I was about to leave, but then she appeared.
へえ、ちょっと素敵よね。秘密基地みたい。私だけの秘密の隠れ家なんですよ。ここには誰も来ないし、誰にも何も聞こえません。
I felt strange, hear myself say that.
レイナちゃんだけの秘密の隠れ家？嬉しいわね。そんな場所に連れてきてもらえるなんて。
She must have thought I told her my secret because she was worth sharing it with. She looked happy. She found the station wagon, looked inside of it through the window, and went all ooh and ah excitedly. This is a secret place that nobody else knows. I felt like my consciousness was separating from my body, like I was floating. But it didn't feel good. Like when I drank amazake, it was more like being car sick. It felt like I was going to throw up. My brain was probably secreting some chemical in order to avoid facing the reality that I have to stay with this woman, that I couldn't run away from her. But even if my brain tried to avoid recognizing it, the reality in front of me wouldn't change.
そうそう。ねえ、レイナちゃん。なんでしょう。どうしたの？気分悪いの？いえ、平気です。
I inhaled fresh air and pulled my consciousness back to reality. I didn't feel like throwing up anymore, but I still felt off balance. I leaned onto a scrap of garbage to keep my balance.
私はレイナちゃんのこと好きよ。レイナちゃんは私のこと好き？何ですか突然。
I said that because I didn't want to say that I like her.
私ね、ずっとあなたのお父さんとお付き合いをしているんだけど、いろいろと話し合ってね。
I needed to stop feeling like this. Get up, Rena. I'd heard something like this before. Part of me was trying to understand what this woman was trying to say, but another part of me was trying not to. I felt as if her words were bouncing around my head, and I started having a headache.
それでね、これからのことを真剣に話し合ったのよ。これからの生活や、いろいろよ。
What?
レイナも秋人おじさんのこと好きでしょ？それでね、お母さん。
What's going on? Mother? What are you thinking about, Ariakey? This is an important moment. You're about to have a one-on-one battle with Ina-san. No, Mom. What about my dad? What about me? I don't want you to divorce him. I don't want you to get remarried to anybody else. No, please don't divorce him. I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to let you get remarried.
再婚なんて許さないです。え？お父さんとどういう付き合い方をしたって構いませんが、再婚なんて許さないです。
She must have not thought that I'd say it straight out like that. She looked stunned. After a while, she broke the silence with her laughter.
拒絶もあるかなとは思ってたけど、ここまではっきり言われるとは思わなかったもんだから。拒絶もあるかなと思っていました。私が拒絶していたのに気づいていたのは意外でした。そんなのわかるでしょ。あんた、私と目を合わせるとすぐ逃げるもん。それで分かってないなんて思ってた？子供は嫌ね。
She frowned, revealing her ugly self. It should have been the first time I saw her face like that. But I wasn't surprised at all. Her face had looked like that to me from the beginning.
できれば上辺だけでもあんたとは仲良くしてたかったんだけど、ここまで嫌われちゃ難しいわね。私のどこが気に入んないの？高額のために教えてよ。最初っから全部。匂いも嫌い。
One vicious word came out from my mouth after another. I didn't have wings, but I felt as if I was flying up to the sky. I felt weird and uncomfortable, but also exhilarated. It felt as if I was letting another me use my body. Well, you're letting your anger all out at this point. Makes sense. I was in the middle of a disastrous battlefield, but I felt like it wasn't even my business.
そりゃあ好都合ね。私もあんたのこと嫌いだったから、お互い様よね。なめんなクソガキ。ガタガタ言わされてえか。二度と家へ来ないでください。再婚なんて私が絶対に許さない。別にあんたに許してもらわなくてもいいんだけど。まああんたがうまく立ち回ってお父さんに再婚を断念させたきゃさせてごらんって。そんなの今さら意味ないし。
She didn't look intimidated by me at all, and that made me feel a little intimidated in return. Ah, damn it. Crushing all my hopes here, Rina. Crushing all my hopes. Why was she so confident of her absolute control of my father? She had to have more than confidence to be able to act as fearless as this. She must have something tangible. Before I asked her what it was, she told me herself.
私ね、プロポーズされたの。嘘だ。嘘じゃないわよ。本当よ。
It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a big lie. Well, it sure reminds her of her mother too. The whole pregnant thing. She has to divorce because she got pregnant. She has to get married because she got pregnant. That's a lie. That's a big lie.
向こうからのお願いだから聞かないわけにもいかないしね。指輪ももらっちゃったし。それに結婚を前提のお付き合いだったわけだしね。指輪まで送っておいて今さらちゃぶ台返しなんてことになると最近は問題が多いわよね。それが最初から目的のくせに。私は聞いてるんだ。お前と鉄という男が二人で喫茶店で話しているところを聞いてるんだ。お父さんのお金を目当てに近づいたのを知っている。
Alright. Confronting this head on.
Hinamizawaの旦那と呼んで詐欺にかけようとしていることを知ってる。葛西さんに聞いたから全部知ってるんだ。詐欺師だってことも全部知ってるんだ。あら、全部知ってるんだ。あらららららら。
Before I knew it, Rina was standing right in front of me. We glared at each other with our faces almost touching.
で、レイナちゃんはそこまで知っててどうしようってわけ？お父さんに二度と近づかないでください。嫌よって言ったら？こんな秘密の隠れ家に誘ってくれての話だからね。そういうお話かなとは思ってたのよ。だってここ秘密の隠れ家なんでしょ？誰も知らなくて誰にも何も聞こえない秘密の場所なんでしょ？ええ、そうですよ。誰も知らなくて誰にも何も聞こえない、誰も訪れることのない忘れられた場所。
Our faces were so close to each other that our noses could almost touch. I knew what I was talking about, but I didn't know what would happen next. I couldn't back down now that I come to this point, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I should do.
いやだ、何をマジになってんだかね。ほらほら、仲直り。
Rina started laughing and slapped me on the back. My expression didn't change, and I kept staring at Rina. But I didn't notice her real intention of putting both of her arms around my neck. The tension broke, already stretched thin, and Rina squeezed my neck hard. I was openly hostile, but I didn't realize Rina's evil intentions until she started choking me.
子供のくせに舐めやがってよ。もうちょいでうん千万って金が転がるんだよ。上辺だけでも仲良しってことになってりゃ、小遣いの少しもやろうって思ってたのにな。口ばっかり滑らしか。うんだらねえとこでまだるっこし。
Jesus Christ. Crushing all my hopes and then twisted the knife right into it, why don't you?
死にさらせやこら。
I tried to pry her hands off my neck, but didn't have the strength to do so.
殺しはしたかなかったんだけどね。二度とこんなうまいかもにゃ会えないだろうしさ。てめえ閉めてうん千万なら悪くはないさね。どうせ巻き上げたら蒸発するつもりだったしさ。上等くれたらこの野郎。
The world around me got darker and darker. I had never known an evil intention like this, namely the intention to kill me. It didn't scare me though. That's because being scared is a thing that people use to express how they feel when they see wildfire on the other side of a river. People on the island with the wildfire, with their deaths right in front of them, they don't get scared. If I loosen my grip on her hands even a little bit, she'd crush my throat. This was a simple competition to see who was stronger. Rina wanted to get into the most advantageous position, so she tried to push me down to the ground so that she could mount me. If I let her do that, I wouldn't stand a chance. I tried to keep my current position, but I was losing a lot of energy by being choked. It was only a matter of time before Rina could push me down. Jesus freaking Christ. I lost my balance on purpose. I tried to fall backwards in order to put her off balance. I couldn't hold my breath long enough to keep up that strength competition, so I had no choice but to take that chance. We fell on the ground, tangled together. But as Rina was strongly determined to kill me, she didn't even take her hands away from my neck after she fell. However, my actions made Rina loosen her grip on my throat. It wasn't loose enough for me to break free from her grip, but it gave me a few months to use my hands for something other than stopping her from crushing my throat. If I hadn't taken the chance, I would have been done for. That's why I tried to literally seize my chance. I moved both of my hands on the ground to seize that chance. I felt a piece of broken glass on my right hand. Oh God. That was truly my chance to literally save myself from the brink of death. I cut Rina's wrist deep with a piece of glass. Rina tried to endure the pain for a few seconds, but pain that severe from someone so cornered soon broke her will. She let go of my throat to cling to her bloody wrist. He used that moment to pull away from her. She screamed, both in pain and also to try and intimidate me again. It didn't work anymore though. Intimidation only works on the opponent when the opponent is hesitant to fight. When you're already in a fight, screaming like that means nothing more than letting the opponent know how badly you're hurt. I no longer had any hesitation. I had learned from Rina. She taught me what I have to do in a situation like this. That's right. This is my secret hideout. I know every single piece of junk in here. Oh boy. Well, what's it gonna be? What is gonna be the murder weapon? Maybe I knew that a day like this was coming. Was it just a coincidence that it was there? I had pulled out a meter-long lead pipe, not at all surprised to see it there. I raised it up high and brought it back down. There was no way Rina could block this hard and heavy lead pipe with just her arms. She probably tried to block it with the palms of her hands in order to take it from me. But her long nails wouldn't let it happen. Unable to catch it the way she wanted, she broke her fingers and some of her nails came off too. Her scream made me realize that I had the advantage. An advantage I would have to keep. If I didn't, she'd turn the tables just like I did. And then she'd choke me to death for sure. Rina shielded her head with her arms. But it didn't help. All that would change is that I break her arms before I broke her face. I'm serious too. Die. 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 You should die. Yeah, that's right. I should have done this a long time ago. I didn't need proof. I didn't have to talk to anybody. That's stupid. That's nonsense. I should have done this a long time ago. If I had done it a long time ago, my father wouldn't have been deceived. I could have protected him. I could have protected my family. I could have protected my life. I could have been myself. My mother wouldn't have divorced my father. I could have stayed happy. I wouldn't have had to be unhappy. I'm going to recapture my happiness at this moment. I'm going to win back my happiness. I'm not going to cry for misfortune. I'm not going to give in to a fate of unhappiness. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to seize my happiness. Right now. My own. 2 hands. Rina tried to run away from me. But as she no longer had the use of her hands, it made it difficult for her to stand up to escape. Especially since there were scraps of junk everywhere on the ground. After all, this is my hideout. This is my territory. Nobody can run away from me here. She tried to climb up the slip of garbage, slipped, fell, and rolled all the way back down. She didn't stand up or move. Her eyes were open, and her neck was bent at an unnatural angle. I didn't know how to make sure she was dead, so I kept looking at her open eyes for a while. She could be faking it for all I know. But she didn't close her eyes no matter how long I waited. And I scooped up a handful of sand and threw it on her face. She still didn't close her eyes. Thud. The lead pipe slipped out of my hand and hit the ground. Well, on one hand, I knew that this was gonna happen. That Rina was gonna die. And I guess I am a little bit surprised in some aspects. One would be that it would happen this early. I was thinking that we're gonna go through an entire process of planning a murder. Not only that, but it was purely out of self-defense apparently. Rina is the one who started this. When I tried to pick it up, I realized how heavy it was. I was surprised I was wielding it as though it was a knife. I was sweating all over. The cold wind felt good on my skin. The cries of the Higurashi were calming me down and healing my soul. Rina was just like a broken dummy now. She had become a piece of junk. I am the owner of this land of junk, and I've defended it from her intrusion. And now she was a resident of this junkyard. I didn't feel bad about killing her. In fact, I felt rather fulfilled that I defeated the evil woman who had deceived my father. I started breathing slowly and calmly, and I regained enough energy to analyze the situation. I'd have to hide her body. First, I had to get rid of her scooter. I climbed up the slope and kicked her scooter down the hill. It rolled down the slope, making a lot of noise, and blending in with all the junk as it stopped, like it was there from the beginning. I went back down the slope and started dragging her body to my hideout. It should have taken as much effort as dragging a 50-kilogram sandbag, but it felt lighter than that. It was just a sandbag, and it brought disaster to my family. I didn't lure her here in order to kill her. Or did I? Maybe I just didn't notice that I had that intention deep down in my heart. Damn it. So you're asking yourself that question too. Because I was saying, maybe eventually Rena would have gone along to plan a murder for Rina. It just so happened that Rina came here and attacked Rena first. Even though it very well could have been possible that if it wasn't for Rena who started first, it might have been Rena. Because otherwise I was thinking, like, she was, like, Rena was immediately going for her hideout, even though Rena was still there. That's kind of a bad thing if you wanted your hideout to be hidden. But I guess the one reason why you would do such a thing, that you would lead someone like Rina to your hideout, plain and simple, was because of this opportunity to maybe kill her, deep down. But even so, I felt like this was the best and most expedient solution. And there was no better solution than killing her. How wasteful to depend on someone to help me, to wait for the day to come when they will. I remember the murder of Satoshi-kun's aunt that happened last year. I had no doubt that Satoshi-kun murdered her, but I'd never been as convinced as I am right at this moment. How could he have saved Satoko-chan, other than by killing his aunt last year, at that time, in that circumstance? My situation was much the same as his. How could I have saved my father, other than by killing her? If I was planning a murder, I would have been under a lot of pressure and stress. But for better or for worse, the moment came to me out of nowhere. That's why I believe I solved my problem with as little trouble as possible. Now that she's gone, will anyone become suspicious about her disappearance? Well, I know the father at the very least is gonna become really sad again. That Rina apparently just slowly disappeared out of his life. And one would think that with someone like Teppei, such a disgusting human being like Teppei, one would think that he is gonna go after the father, that something bad is gonna happen. She was an irresponsible person who skipped work at her own convenience. So, I didn't think anybody would get suspicious when she disappeared one day. She was a big mess from the start. People would think she went into hiding because she got into deep trouble with someone. I didn't need to fabricate an alibi. Oh my god. And putting into perspective chapter 3 and all, Rena knows that person Teppei is a Hojo, right? As soon as Teppei would just come back to Hinamizawa and goes back to abusing Satoko, Rena is probably gonna think to herself, oh shit, it is because of Rina's death that Teppei decided to come back to Hinamizawa, and now Teppei is abusing Satoko because of Rina's death here. Rina's death here is gonna affect Satoko a lot. And you know what this means? Rena is gonna feel guilty again because of this. Oh, I did not expect this kind of angle in chapter 3. Because chapter 3, Rena was definitely not the focus, like, whatsoever. But now that we know about this, all I needed to do was to get rid of her body. It took me a while to figure out how to do that last part. Hiding her body would be very risky, but my brain had become so calm that it did some calculations and came up with an answer right away. 1,500 seconds. Yes, this place is still the safest. This is a place forgotten. Nobody comes here. Nobody knows this place is here. I knew that because I've been spending a lot of time here. Compared to taking the risk of carrying her body to some other place, it was a lot safer to just hide it here. That is a good point. This would be the best place to hide that body. But in that case, would that mean that this couldn't be the same thing as what we've seen at the beginning of this chapter, right? I think it was... I'm still thinking that Rena and the rest of the girls were hiding Teppei's murder. Like, Teppei's death at that point. They were hiding his body at that point. But going back to the topic, it makes sense that her body would be hidden here, which begs the question, why was it that Rena's body was hidden like in the drainage sewage at the beginning of chapter 3? Is it simply because it just so happened that in a different timeline, Rena was murdered by Rena like right there instead of at the junkyard? It just happened to be like a different location? I guess so. But what would that mean? Like, the big difference would be that Rena's body would be found in like in the drainage sewage, like at the beginning of chapter 3. Whereas here, her body is not going to be found. I get the feeling that it's going to be the same thing though. Teppei is still gonna come back to Satoko's like old house and gonna do his thing though, so I don't know. But it wasn't perfect yet. This place wouldn't remain a secret forever. I could hide it here for now, but I have to come up with the perfect way to make it completely disappear. It's a lot easier to think about that than thinking about how to make Rena break up with my father. I stuffed her corpse into a broken refrigerator in a trash pile. I wanted to cover the refrigerator with dirt and bury it. But that was too easy. I had to chop the corpse into pieces and make them completely disappear. I felt like it got dark all of a sudden. No, it didn't get dark all of a sudden. I just didn't realize it was getting dark until just then. Jesus Christ, what is it with the sounds in this chapter? Ugh. I could hear thunder from a distance. It might rain soon. Like, sound effects and all. I think the reason why I'm being so... It's so weird with this particular sound effect is because it's not a thunderstorm. It's not thunder noise. It's like hitting something with metal. BAM! That's not thunder. I could use some rain. It'll wash Rena's dirty blood into the ground. I should go home. I should think about what I'd do tomorrow. I was going to stay right beside my father until he forgets about her. He might be hurt at first, but we are going to recapture our happiness for sure. Our happy, peaceful life. Yeah, I mean, in regards to that, change your plans. You're no longer gonna have to separate from your father. Now you're gonna have to spend time with your father again, just to make him happy again. And have him rebuild his life again. And then afterwards, my body was heavy with exhaustion. But I also felt fulfilled. Because I took a very important first step today. And I'll keep taking one step after another. I'm not going to cry anymore. I'm not going to cry until I win back my happiness. I mean, of course, Serena is going to be happy about this because, in her eyes, this is a stark contrast in comparison to the divorce. Because she felt guilty about the divorce because she couldn't do anything. Now, she felt like she did something to solve the situation. Well, of course she's gonna be fulfilled by this. I'm not going to cry again. Whew, okay. Oh, you know what? I am thankful that
再
this...
婚なんかする必要ないよ。
I am thankful that at the very least this ended quickly. I thought this was gonna be a long process with Arena. And that was the first thing I said after I got home. My father looked stunned. He noticed the sad tone in my voice, and realizing that I didn't agree with the idea of my marriage, he looked down.
無理もないよな。レイナの気持ちもわかるよ。事前にレイナにもよく相談す。
プロポーズなんて取り消せばいい。あんな女。
あんな女なんて言い方しちゃダメだ。リナさんは。
本当のことを話す。あの女と鉄という男は二人組の悪人。我が家の財産を狙ってお父さんに近づいてきただけ。
My father didn't get it right away, of course. He looked upset instead because I called her that woman. Christ. Now she's being super direct with the father. Cause I was thinking maybe an option would be to just keep it quiet for right now. And maybe like of course have the father question where the fuck Rina is. And then suddenly, like, not suddenly, but I realized it more and more that she just disappeared. Which of course is gonna be sad. In that sense... Okay, well maybe it is for the best that at the very least Rena would be honest about this. But you don't really have any evidence towards that. I should have chosen my words a little more carefully. But I think I told him the truth clearly enough. I told him everything I heard and saw at the coffee house. As I expected, he defended Rina anyway. I was upset, but at the same time, it made me certain that there was no other way than to kill her. I felt the pressure on my shoulders lessen for some reason. My father thought he needed my approval for his marriage, so he held back his anger and put a fake smile on his face instead.
なあ、レイナ。もう一度ゆっくりとお父さんたちと話し合おう。そうすればきっと分かってくれるから。
A tamed animal is still tamed, even after the owner is dead. That's okay. I'll open the gate anyway. Even a tamed animal will notice one day that he's no longer in captivity. That's not something that I could teach him. He had to realize it on his own. True. I couldn't stand his fake smile anymore, so I left the living room. Time healed the pain from the divorce. Time heals any kind of pain. Just like how dripping water will eventually bore a hole through solid rock. I did what I could do. Now, I'd have to wait. But the day I was going to wait for her came earlier than expected. At midnight of the following day, we had a visitor. Oh, fuck. He was that Tae-chan man. I fucking knew it. Teppei Hojo. Teppei didn't even knock on the door to get in. He broke into the house by smashing the window. At first, I thought he came here to ask us about Rina's whereabouts, but I was wrong. He is after the money. The real reason why Teppei came here was because it was their plan. It was the last stage of their badger game. Rina was probably supposed to be in bed with my father at the time tonight. Teppei must have wanted to show up and catch them sleeping together. Teppei looked around the house, but he couldn't find Rina. He didn't change the plan though. He grabbed my father by his collar and started yelling threats. He showed my father a certificate of marriage to Rina and shouted at him saying, You got my wife pregnant. How are you going to take responsibility? My father had no idea she was married. He looked shocked. Oh boy. Well, at least he sees the truth. But oh boy, is he gonna be shattered by this. My father is a short guy who is faint of heart. He just let Teppei do and say whatever he wanted from beginning to end. I looked at them from a distance, coldly. The more Teppei yelled and threatened my father, the faster he'd wake up from his bad dream. And this was a medicine for him. Teppei was cutting out the cancer that I was going to depend on time to do. He was doing a great job of it. I waited to help my father until I was sure that he had finally awakened from his bad dream. I told Teppei that I had something very important to tell him and took him outside.
で、なんじゃい？重要な話っちゅんは。
リナさんって昨日以来沖宮に帰ってますか？
ん？
実はリナさん、事情があって隠れてるんです。
あ？どういうこっちゃ？
リナさんから哲平さんが来たら連れてきてほしいと言われてるんです。
あ？リツコのやつどうしたんね？
Oh fuck. Ana's gonna actually kill Teppei too, isn't she? Well, this is a surprise. We walked in the dark with a flashlight to the place where nobody comes and nobody can hear us. The place forgotten. He asked me many things on the way, but I couldn't answer any of them. I just told him to ask Rina. The way I said it seemed to make him think that Rina was going to betray him and get married to my father for real. Even though he was breathing heavily in a rage, he walked right behind me without any suspicions. I knew this day was going to come very soon, so I was well prepared for it. We reached the place where I originally planned to bring him, and I turned off the flashlight all of a sudden.
どうしたんね？
Everyone gets nervous when the only light in the dark goes off. But this is my territory. I didn't need any light. I could feel my surroundings even better with my eyes closed. I grabbed the big hatchet I hid in a bush and lifted it up high.
ごめんなさい。電池の接触不良かな。ちょっと待ってくださいね。
ああ、はよせんとね。
I purposely sounded weak and helpless while I raised the hatchet into the air.
ああ、ライターあるわ。出すんね。
Teppei found a lighter in his pocket and lit it up. He probably couldn't understand the sight illuminated by that small light. He saw a girl lifting up a big hatchet right in front of him.
Huh? Oh.
Teppei's eyes went wide. He didn't understand what was going on, but he understood that his life was in danger. And yet, he must not have been able to think fast enough to deal with it even though he understood what he should do. When he could think fast enough and blocked his head with his arms, it wouldn't have meant anything. I knew Teppei would come to my house eventually. That's why I prepared for that day. I just didn't think that preparation was going to bear fruit tonight. I chose my weapon very carefully. I planned when, where, and how I was going to attack him. And so, there can only be one result. The hatchet cut deeply into his forehead. I felt an indescribable vibration through the hatchet when it hit him, and this told me that I broke his skull. Huh. Okay. Alright. So it's not gonna be a retelling of Chapter 3. This surely has come to me as a surprise. That Teppei himself is gonna be dead here too. At least Satoko herself is no longer gonna have to suffer the way she did in chapter 3. Which is good. He bragged about how good he was at fighting at a coffee house. But he sure went down quickly when faced with a murderous weapon. He was done. He was done in by a single blow. Teppei slowly fell to his side with a hatchet in his forehead. He looked like a victim in a B-movie. I killed this big guy with just one hatchet. He was probably quite experienced in the world of violence, but I was better than him when it came to killing. Why? Because I've killed someone before. It's all done now. The bad people who deceived my father and tried to rob him blind are all gone. I did what I had to do in order to protect my life. If I had this much courage and determination when my mom told me about the divorce, I might have killed Akihito. If I did, I would have taken the life of only one. Because I couldn't do it back then, I've had to kill 2 people in the last 2 days. Rena, let's finish it up. There's already a place to hide his body. I took care of everything. My hands were wet, so I shone the flashlight at them. I thought it was blood, but it was just sweat. Even so, I still felt uncomfortable and shone the flashlight at my hands several times. I did all this in order to be happy. I did all this, so I should be happy now. I tried so hard that I got blood on my hands. I wanted to get credit for that from him. Oyashiro-sama, let me ask you a question. I can finally rewind the time back to the day everything started to go wrong, can't I? I'm going to stay in Hinamizawa. I'm going to live happily with my father forever. It's rare to see Rena sleep in class. She isn't the kind of girl who sleeps in class because of staying up so late. She had to be tired from doing housework or something. A lot more than housework, that's for sure. Everybody seemed to be thinking the same thing. Nobody tried to wake her up, not even Chie-sensei. She got up for a few seconds and went back to sleep. She swayed back and forth, like she was rowing a boat. But she's in class, so I should wake her up, right? I was about to wake her up, but before my hand touched her, Mion gave me a sign not to.
寝かせてあげなよ。たまにはそういう日もあるよ。
うん。それもそうだな。
I heard a few days ago that Rena lives with her father. She studies during the day, plays a lot after school, and does things around the house after that. I didn't know that. I also didn't know her mother had divorced her father. Okay, so Keiichi learned about this. Mion told me that. And she also told me not to talk about it because Rena is still hurt by the divorce.
そんな苦労をしてるなんて、全然気づきもしなかったぜ。
Indeed.
レナはそういうのを表に出さないタイプだよね。ひょっとすると、普段陽気に振る舞っているのも、そういう風に意識して振る舞っているからかもね。
Rena told me that happy days will one day come to an end. She told me she knew that firsthand. What could she have been through? I had no idea. That's probably why she tried to spend as much time as peacefully and cheerfully as she could. I must have hurt her feelings when I said I was bored of having happy days. Oh! Keiichi realizing this like this quickly, that's actually quite good. He still did it, but he's realizing this like right now, this quickly. When I thought about it, I felt bad for living off my parents, who are both healthy and happy. For that matter, Satoko and Rika-chan lost their parents too. Mion lives with her grandmother, away from her parents, because she needs to learn to be the head of the Sonzaki family in the future. When I realized all that, I felt bad about my situation.
別にケイちゃんが両親と生活してることを申し訳なく思うことはないよ。
Mion seemed to have read my mind. She said it with a cool expression on her face.
確かに家族ってのは生まれてきた子供である私たちにとって一番最初のコミュニティなんだと思う。でもね、コミュニティは家族だけじゃないんだよ。
仲間か？
わかってるじゃん。
俺たちはレナにとって家族に負けないくらいの存在なんだろうか。
You bet your ass.
掃除洗濯、炊事に買い物。それに疲れて昼寝だけして過ごすことだってレナにはできるんだよ。でもレナはそれをしない。放課後の時間いっぱいを私たちと部活をして過ごす。それはつまり、なんて言えばいいのかな。そう、仲間ってことなんだよ。
レナにとっては家族と同じくらいの意味のある仲間ってことなのか？
Mion looked stunned, as if she didn't understand what I was talking about.
ああ、ケイちゃんが今日まで仲間って言葉をどういう意味で使ってきたか知らないけどさ。仲間ってのは家族と全く同格じゃないのかな。難しく考えることではないのですよ。
Rika-chan joined our conversation.
居場所があればいいのです。それがある場所を家族と言ったり仲間と言ったり呼び方が少し変わるだけのことなのですよ。
I mean, you know, in similar fashion to how Rena finds new comfort, new sanctuary in that one spot in like the trash place more than her own house. I mean, as much as Rena loves her father even to this day, like so much, this is her newest comfort place, her new comforting people that she could always come to and, you know, feel happy about. The same way that you would come home and return to your family. That will be the point where you'd feel the safest, most comfortable, the happiest. That sadly has not been the case lately with her father because, you know, because of her thoughts of how she should separate herself from the father, which has completely changed right now because of Rina. But nonetheless, she goes back to these kids. She is at her safest.
リカちゃんにとって家族と仲間は同じものか？
Well, Rika doesn't even have like any blood-related family like at all at this point, so...
僕はそうだと思っていますです。
It's not like she has any other choice.
サトコもミーも、そしてレナもそうだと思いますですよ。だから私たちはいつも一緒にいようとするんじゃないかな。
リカちゃんはみんなといると寂しくないか？
みんなは家族なのです。寂しくなんかないのですよ。
Mion nodded in agreement. Satoko was talking with her other classmates, but I'm sure she would nod as well. Rena would too.
俺ちょっと恥ずかしいよ。 今日まで俺、仲間って言葉を使ってきたけどさ、本当の意味で理解してなかったと思う。
Well, now you know.
仲間ってのは、もっともっと大切で、かけがえのない、すげえもんなんだよな。
それすっごく当たり前のことだからさ。もし今日まで分かってなかったなら、よく胸に刻んだ方がいいよ。
そうだな。そうするぜ。
あと、それを二度と口にしない方がいいかもだね。今ケイちゃんかなり恥ずかしいこと言ってたと思うよ。
After all that, Mion still made fun of me. I think I understand a little better why Rena was always so serious about having fun. I want to be her best friend, and I want to do my best to be deserving of her effort. Rena snored. It sounded cute. Chie-sensei let her sleep in class, but she couldn't let her get away with snoring.
委員長、竜宮さんを起こしてください。レーナ、ほらほら。
Rena was still half asleep and made a strange noise. Everybody in class laughed. Rena noticed they were laughing at her, woke up right away and acted like she wasn't sleeping at all. It looked very funny, and I burst into a fit of laughter. Outside the window, the sky was blue, and the clouds were pure white. It was still June, and it looked like the middle of summer. This perfect weather wouldn't last forever. It could get cloudy and rain all of a sudden. That's why we had to play and raise a hot ruckus while we still had this perfect weather. The cries of the cicadas sound as if they were laughing at us because we still have some classes left. Ah, damn it. Can't wait for school to finish.
どうしたんだろう。ケイチくんすっごく嬉しそうだね。今日は
別に今日何かあるわけじゃないぜ。今日は今日だし、明日は明日だろ。今日が晴れてるならそれで十分。明日の天気なんか知ったこっちゃないってことさ。だから今日という日を俺は精一杯遊び倒したい。いつ天気が崩れたって後悔しないくらいに徹底的にな。
I learned that from Rena. I learned that peaceful days are the happiest days you can have and that they're irreplaceable.
ミオ、今日の部活はなんだ？それに最近罰ゲームがちょいと刺激不足だぜ。
言うね、ケイちゃん。そこまで言うなら、今日の放課後には生き地獄ってやつを拝ましてあげるよ。
Alright.
ケイチくん、あんまりミーちゃんを挑発しちゃダメだよ。
おいおい、臆すのかよ、レナ。上等じゃないかよ。また俺たちの実力で大暴れしてやろうぜ。俺とレナの決着だってまだまだついちゃいないんだからな。
I grinned at her, and she grinned back.
それもそうだね。よーし、レナも思いっきり頑張るぞ。レナさんには先日の借りがございますものね。きっちり倍返しさせていただきましてですわよ。いいねいいね。盛り上がってきたよ。早く放課後になるといいのです。
I couldn't wait either, but that time we spent just talking together is also very precious.
そうだな。早く放課後になるといいな。
Alright. And with that, I'm gonna assume that next we're gonna be doing our usual Watanagashi shenanigans. You know? But yeah, looking back at what happened with Rena, I'm gonna say this. I'm liking this. This is surely an interesting turn of events. So, like, not only did all this happen, like, so fast, like, again, I was assuming that we're gonna go through an entire process of murdering Rena, you know, planning and, like, all that, doing our research and finding a place to dump Rena's body before we even went to kill her or something like that, in similar fashion to Keiichi in chapter 3. Like, not only did that happen so fast, but we actually killed Teppei too. Which, again, not gonna say that it's good that these people were murdered in the first place, in the sense that, you know, murder is still murder. And the fact that Rena has done this is... But I guess there's also, like, the level of catharsis in that at least these people were bad people, like Teppei and Rena. So, there's that. But more importantly, like, not only did this happen, like, so fast, which is a good change of pace for me, like, it's refreshing for me that it happened so fast. But not only that, but now I'm not sure what's gonna happen from now on, because I assume that, okay, we're gonna be dealing with Teppei going back to Hinamizawa and just doing his usual abusing of Satoko, but now that he's dead, now I'm back to thinking what is gonna happen for the rest of this chapter. Which is cool. It's like, it keeps me on my toes. Like, instead of, like, going through the process again, like chapter 3. Like, now, like, I have to think about what's gonna happen next. Like, I'm interested. Satoko went to join the children playing in the schoolyard. Since I didn't feel like going, I decided to stay at home. Most likely, she wouldn't be back until the evening. And Satoko wasn't around. I had ways of spending time without her. Besides, that was what I wanted to do anyway. I stuck my hand deep inside a pile of winter futons in the closet and pulled one out. You know, this is actually pretty interesting, because so far, this chapter has definitely been Rena focused. So it's interesting to see that we have, like, tips that focus on Rika of all people. It's quite something. Like, what is Rika's role gonna be in this? Next, I filled a stylish looking glass with ice. The ice, made in the freezer, smelled of chlorine though. And it didn't taste good. Store-bought ice would be the best. But since Satoko kept asking me what I was using it for, I stopped buying it. But it might be worth spending time to think about a good excuse for that if it meant I would be able to enjoy ice, without ever again smelling the chlorine. I filled the glass with a mineral water, and then poured a little bit of another liquid into the glass. Watching the color mix into the transparent water was a very pleasant thing. Rika, what are you doing here? This wasn't the right way to drink it, but I liked it that way, and didn't want to hear any complaints. My body is very convenient, because I can get drunk with only a tiny amount. That's why I dilute that small amount with a full glass of water. Oh my fucking god. Rika likes to get drunk. She's an alcoholic, isn't she? Jesus Christ. And thanks to that, I can enjoy a single bottle for a long time. It wasn't bad, if you thought about it like that. Yeah, Yeah, you know how I said before that these kids are growing so fast. You know, with Rika having these kinds of powers of like reliving some moments and more than likely being conscious of like past moments that keep repeating and all that. Oh my god, like how, like mentally speaking, how long has Rika lived? It didn't even cross my mind, like the implications of these kinds of things that Rika is going through, and it still needs to be explained, like where it's all coming from. I made my theories in the last investigation part, but thinking about it like this, like just because you know in Yumineko we had like immortal like characters and all that, but they were witches and all that. They lived for a long time, and there's like a metaphorical, like a humanistic explanation to what it means to live like 1,000 years and all that. There is like an equivalent explanation to what it means in human ways, in the sense that like 1,000 years is equal to 6 years for a specific character, but I digress. The point is, this is coming from a human right over here that has these kinds of weird power, who may have lived for a long time mentally in the such a tiny body like Rika. Jesus Christ. I put a cushion on my favorite spot by the window. And with a glass in one hand, I enjoy the familiar view and the soft wind brushing through my hair. Oh my god. Like an old grandma, like still drinking. A slightly sweet ripened aroma tickled my nose. And just when I was about to start enjoying the atmosphere, the annoying one came back. She didn't like this bad habit of mine, and she complained every time I tilted the glass. She started nagging me noisily.
うるさいな。少しくらい我慢なさい。何を飲もうと食おうと、私の勝手でしょ。ダメなのです。その飲み物はあなたにはまだ早いのです。
Okay. A random ass kid. I tried to ignore her, but she started making a fuss, as if trying to ruin the atmosphere on purpose. I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut for a second here. I wanna see this. I glared at her. I threw the drink out the window.
なんで私が憂鬱か知りたい？私の死に方が決まったからよ。
It seemed like she finally understood why I wanted to drown myself in alcohol.
そんなに落ち込まなくてもいいのよ。割と一瞬で死ねるから、そんなに怖くないわ。
My body will be burned and cut in pieces, but I'll be able to die instantly.
でも、またダメなのです。そうね。またダメね。これだと、私の命日はいつだっけ？6月の25日の夜だと思いましたです。綿流しの祭りが終わってから、だいたい1週間後か。まあ、妥当なあたりね。やっぱり、僕のせいなのでしょうか。決まってるでしょ。あんた自覚ないの？はう、はう。
She was the one who asked me, yet she cried when I told her she was right. Ah, jeez. She's always so annoying.
頑張りましょう。次のすごろくではきっと、6が立て続けに出てくれることもあるわよ。
6 in a row on the next board game. Such familiar sounding words. My god. June 25th. I still had 10 more days. I was going to relax and enjoy those 10 days. I still had some wine left too. Oh! Alright. Okay. So, what the hell am I getting out of this? Is it that my theory that I had before about Oyashiro being a child, is that actually gonna be true? Not only do we have like this child, like Oyashiro child, that stays with Rika the most, but this child apparently is aware of Rika struggling and all that, and that she's gonna die. That's all premeditated and all that. Alright. I see that, Higurashi. I see that. Cause that is a voice that I have not heard of. For a split second I was thinking, okay, maybe this is a younger version of Satoko, but nah, that's definitely a new kid that I have not heard of.